Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Big Apple Hockey. Like we didn't do 3 hours worth of streaming last night and then won't be doing another 4 hours on Friday. But that's how hard we're working for you, and that's how much we love doing this. I, of course, am your host, Marc Williams, and I am desperately waiting for the Jacob Chychrun saga to end. And also, I can't wait to go to Madison Square Garden tomorrow night to see Patrick Kane and the New York Rangers. And a man who was also looking forward to that, the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Volkowski.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much waiting in anticipation for Thursday night to see the Breadman and Showtime reunite on Broadway and just work their magic like they did in Chicago.
And our last member of the panel, a man who was reaping the benefits of the earliest trade deadline maneuver, the Bill Horvat trade, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Hey, Mark, you like my tagline?
Wow.
I actually do. I love your tagline. That is perfect because, oh my goodness, it's if I have to hear one more team that's in on Jacob Chychrun, I mean, come on, how many more teams could be in on this guy?
I think Marc is in a nosedive out of the window.
You think Arizona's trolling you purposely at this point?
I definitely think they're at least he's laughing at me somewhere in there. But guys, let's go to the A block, which is brought to you by SeatGeek, where we're going to discuss the Rangers and the Islanders. And we're going to start with the ones that made the biggest news this week. By the way, after most Ranger games, try to catch John. He hasn't done a final buzzer in a while, but trust me, he'll be able to get on that soon enough. I try to get in my 60-second game reviews. I try to do it all the time. Sometimes life gets in the way, guys. And you can go to the Big Apple Hockey Podcast for other articles. I just put up one called Kane and Abel about, kind of analyzing the Patrick Kane trade yesterday. And also Big Apple Hockey Trucker chats are available. Last selfish plug, we have the trade deadline special coming up on Friday. All right. So, guys, the New York Rangers, third place in the Metro. 77 points, not 75. My mistake on that. And a plus a 33 goal differential. This week, Phil, they were lifeless against the Capitals and the Red Wings. More on them in bar talk. And they beat down LA pretty good on Sunday night. But the big news last night, they got Patrick Kane. Your thoughts on the New York Rangers week?
Interesting one. Do you want to talk about peaks and valleys, ups and downs? This is it right here. This is the Rangers season in a nutshell, a microcosm of things. It's funny because that first half of the season up to that December point where Trouba threw that helmet, they were, up and down same way, just going, peaks and valleys. And then Trouba throws the helmet and we're looking at a completely different team. And I think Chris Drury saw the same thing, and he went out and acquired Patrick Kane weeks after requiring whoa, hold on one second. Is this actually happening right now, or I just saw that?
All right, keep going with the Rangers. I'll check on that, or Anthony check on.
Yeah, yes, it actually is confirmed. It's confirmed. It's to Ottawa. It is for a first-round pick in 2023, a conditional second-round selection in 2024, previously acquired from the Capitals, and a second-round pick in 2026. That's directly from the Ottawa Senators Twitter account.
It's over. It's over. Wow. I don't ever have to hear about Jacob Chychrun being attached to every single NHL team ever again.
Wow.
How come? Why is it? It's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting deal. Considering that I know we're kind of derailing the Rangers here a little bit, but I feel like we have to talk about this because this is big. Yeah, so it's funny because we all thought that, or a lot of people thought that Jacob Chychrun was going to go for a lot more than this, and it looks like Bill Armstrong overplayed his hand tremendously, was still valuing Jacob Chychrun the way he was in 2021, and it looks like he paid for it. I mean, it's still a good return, but not as much as you thought it was going to be, and definitely not anywhere near what Bill Armstrong wanted for Jacob Chychrun. So that's a crazy return.
Yeah, first round pick.
Anthony, your first
23.
impressions of this trade?
I mean,
Wow.
I guess pretty underwhelming. I mean, for a while we heard about how many assets they wanted. You thought they were going to get, at least a prospect or a young player, and I mean they didn't get anything. I mean, in terms of players, all picks. So, first round pick and conditional. Second, yeah. I mean, it's I'm underwhelmed.
Well, it's definitely underwhelming, especially the fact that
Yeah,
he's 2 years removed from his big season, which was the shortened one when I think he had 17 goals. And Goss's Bear also getting moved today for a third round pick. Like, just this is what you held out for. This was the big thing. You couldn't have made another deal with anyone else.
I'm literally on a message board, and I just read a comment that said verbatim, LOL, Arizona held out for that. So everyone is thinking the same thing you're thinking right now, Mark, and it's kind of hilarious. Not going to lie.
And the only thing that drove me more nuts was this was reported about as much as the Jack Eichel trade rumors, and that was going everywhere, but we knew that there was limited capacity. Because of Chychrun's contract, basically every team was in play on this. Every fan was talking about him. Like, really? This was it? A conditional first round pick this year, probably out of the lottery, or top whatever. A conditional second round pick from the Capitals, and then another second round. Come on.
So these are the conditions. The 23 first round pick is top 5 protected. If that's met, the pick becomes a 24 first round pick unprotected. Additionally, should the Sens reach the Eastern Conference Finals in 23, the second round pick becomes a 24 first round pick, top 10 protected. If that
they don't have to worry about that. I don't think the Sens are making it with their goaltending.
Yeah, I know. If that condition is met, the pick becomes a 2025 first round pick unprotected. Yeah, so a lot of those conditions aren't really gonna. I mean, come. I don't think this year's first round pick is going to be top 5 protected. I don't see the Senators being that bad. Clearly, so yeah, a lot of these conditions almost seem pretty meaningless then, because I don't think any of them are going to happen.
Well, here's one thing to mention though. Sorry, Ann, what?
What's that? No, I was just going to say the Senators aren't making the conference finals this year, and I don't think the first round pick is going to be top 5 protected.
Well, and I'm just showing this right now. Sorry, guys, we're diverting a little bit from the A block. We're going to get back to the more important teams in a moment. But there's the wild card standings right there. The Ottawa Senators have 62 points right now because they just beat up Detroit 2 games.
I was just going to say
they're actually ahead of Detroit. They have 64. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So they got 60 games played. They could possibly catch the New York Islanders, because if they won all 4 of their games, that would put them at 72 points that they have in hand. But you have to win those games. Keep that in mind. And the other thing is, like, Pittsburgh, what does Pittsburgh do right now? Does Ottawa think they could actually catch Buffalo?
I definitely think that management definitely thinks that, because these 2 games against Detroit were big games for both of those teams. And Ottawa showed their resiliency and was sending, and their locker room definitely sent a message to management that, hey, believe in us, improve us. And management and Pierre Dorian, for once, I've got to clap for Pierre Dorian, because he actually made a really good move, and he went out and improved the team, not only right now, but in the future. So he sends the message back to his guys that, hey, you know what? We believe in you up front. We're giving you this ammo right here. Now you got to go make a run. And I mean, you're going to have 2 acquisitions coming in for 2 respective teams tomorrow night in Jacob Chychrun and Patrick Kane. And this is going to be a big, big game tomorrow night for both the Rangers and the Senators.
I don't think that the Senators acquired Chychrun just solely on the basis to try and make a run this year. I mean, he fits in with their long-term plan.
But
I
that's
just
why
think
I
it's
said they did it for now and the future.
yeah, yes, because I don't think they're gonna. You know how hard it is to pass. They would have to jump 4 or 5 teams to get into a playoff spot. I mean, that's really hard to do. They're
And
not
3 of
going
them
to
are within your own division.
They're not going to make the
Yeah,
playoffs, but they are. But they
are.
have a good future. They certainly have a good future, and Jacob Chikrin being added to that is it's a win for them. So kudos on Ottawa to get the guy they wanted, and they've been linked to him for a while now, truthfully. So I'm not really surprised that he ended up going to the Senators. So good for them. And I mean Arizona, well, I mean overplayed your hand, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely overplayed their hand, but they've got a bunch of tall, lanky, rangy, mobile defensemen on that Ottawa blue line, and you got Thomas Chabot, um, you know, Sanderson. Jake Sanderson looks like he's going to be just a stud at this level. He's developing so well right now. They're very, very happy with him. You have guys like Thomas Chabot, obviously, and Thomas Chabot is not having a great year. He's having a decent year. He'll probably finish with close to 50 points. But I mean, you just added another top 4 defenseman to that, and Eric Brandstrom. You're waiting for him to take another step forward. I mean, he's not a big guy, but he's a mobile guy who can move the puck and has a decent shot. They've got so much young talent. They didn't have to give up Shane Pinto. This team going forward has the makings of a very, very scary team going forward.
All right. And by the way, you mentioned Thomas Chabot, still 4th in the league in ice time around. He led the NHL, I believe, last year for the most part. So that's a guy that's just a workhorse still. All right,
Mark, you have another.
So Phil, all right, right now, go right back to
Mark.
How big is this game going to be tomorrow night? Or Anthony,
Mark,
what were you trying to say?
You have another trade for you have to delete from Who Says No, because we had a Jacob Chikrin trade in there.
Thanks for reminding me. Now they are just changing our rundown over and over again.
Yeah, I don't know what I mean. What is there going to be to talk about on Friday? Holy crap!
Well, there's still players, and Pittsburgh Penguins have to do something.
Maybe it's Brock Besser, but who knows? We're going to get back to the Rangers here, though. So for this week, it's definitely an up and down type week. I love the Patrick Kane move, especially being that we didn't think he was coming here after the Vladimir Tarasenko trade. I don't like what I saw in those 2 games, but I love what I saw against LA. That was, we're going to get back to the game that we normally play. We score the big goal, take a big lead, early on, and then they got a little sloppy, but they righted the wrongs and they made sure that they won that game. So that's a big win for them to get back on track. And a lot of the things that we were seeing in those previous games with the defensive breakdowns, the sloppy, lazy, unfocused, and disinterested play weren't there in that game. So that was big. But, it's more of their type of game. And the power play came through. So you know what? I'm happy with that. They've got to continue that tonight and tomorrow night. But, again, Flyers, it's always going to be a tough matchup with them because they're always going to play hard against the Rangers. Tortorella will always want his team to play hard against, one of his former teams, especially the Rangers, in the way that he left New York twice. So, yeah, I definitely want to see what happens tonight with this team.
Anthony, what are your thoughts on the Rangers week? I mean, I did not like the way they looked against Detroit and Washington. They're just overall team defense and the way they defended, and obviously they didn't really the goaltending. Even though the game against Washington, you can't really put it all on Igor, but even still, they gave up a lot of goals and they didn't defend well, which, even dating back to their hot streak 2 weeks ago when they were winning some games 6-4 and whatnot, they were giving up a lot of goals and not really defending well. So They got to get that figured out. But they played the Kings and they got back to more so closer to Ranger hockey. And then obviously the trade for Patrick Kane. It's the fan base is really excited about it, rightfully so. Kane's going to come in and be reunited with Panarin, so they have great chemistry. So we'll see if they can pick up where they left off. But for the Rangers, I think going forward for them is, they could score goals clearly. Kane's gonna only help that, but they really have to shore up their defensive game, because you're not gonna win in the playoffs with playing that loose essentially. Trouba's got to be better. Keandre Miller hasn't. He's looked a little off. Lindgren's a little banged up. That's why originally I said it would have been, if I were a Ranger fan, I would have liked to see them pick up another defenseman to help them out. But at this point, that's really not going to be feasible. So, they have what it takes at the forward position. Just got to buckle up defensively, because they're going to be up. They're going to be up against a good fight against New Jersey in the first round. You want to go into the playoffs feeling good about yourselves and playing real solid hockey. But as for the rest of this week, they got a bad Flyers team, but they always play hard, but they should definitely get 2 points. And then Ottawa, obviously, they're a young, fast, exciting team. So, if you don't get up for them or take them seriously, they can bite you in the behind. So we'll see. We'll have to see what happens here. But I know, Kane hitting the ice for the first time in MSG, the place is going to be crazy. So I would like to think, that game is going to be pretty much a sure win for the Rangers, but you really never know. But again, my only concern about the Rangers is just the way they've been defending. They really have to figure that out.
Well, for starters, I think let's start with Patrick Kane. Actually, no, let me start with the 2 games first, the Detroit and the Washington losses. Both games, they just bad down low coverage, especially, and leaving guys wide open. In the Capitals game, it was a deflection goal by TJ Oshie and then 4 odd man rushes to basically seal that game. And fans were arguing with me all day on Twitter about it, but that game is not on Igor Shesterkin. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be a little bit radical with this and say Igor looked pretty good. But the next day they come back and they beat LA. They go down to 4 defensemen because of all the cap shenanigans. They got a pull to get Patrick Kane. And then they get him. Now that's great. They got to go win in Philadelphia tonight and keep it going, because you can't take your foot off the throttle, because you still need playoff positioning and you don't want to accidentally fall down into one of the wild cards. Now, let me also just say this, because I see the comment from David and I need to address it. And I swear to God, tomorrow night when I'm at this game, if I see a Julien Gauthier video tribute, I might run to the booth to beat up the guy who's doing that. Because if Julien Gauthier gets a video tribute, nobody should ever do one. So come on. I mean, if that happens, and I don't even want the fans to even acknowledge his existence. He was a nothing player. He was a blip on the New York Rangers radar. So whatever you want to do that.
He'll get one of those little thank yous to in between, appear face off for a commercial, TV timeout, whatever, and that's it.
Right. Show a still picture. That's all you have to do. Hey, welcome back, Julien Gauthier. Tap your sticks. That's it. Right before the at the first TV timeout after the 14-minute mark. But it is, oh my goodness. It's just I just shake my head when I think about the video tributes that are out there. Ryan Strome got one. You know who got one? Mark Messier and Brian Leach. Those are the guys that deserves one. Not nothing players like Ryan Strome. Anyway. Oh, hey, we got another viewer from Twitch right now. Finishing up with this. The integration of Patrick Kane is going to be important because they're not really fully integrating Tarasenko yet. They still got to figure that one out. There was a great point that was made by Ray Ferraro on Saturday's broadcast that star players need a little bit more time. Sandpaper guys, a little bit of a different story. So we'll see about that and how long that takes. Hopefully the Rangers, they can actually.
Marty St. Louis
was a good point too. One goal, I think it took him 3 weeks in order to get it.
It 3 goals in 14 games after the acquisition. Bless you.
Yeah, but he didn't get his first one until he faced John Tortorella's Vancouver team.
Vancouver Canucks, yeah. That was
a month later, nearly a month later after the trade deadline. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I can't wait to be at this game. I can't wait to see what the crowd is going to be like, because this is they're starting to push their chips all in. There are some other teams that are doing that too. More on that in a little bit, but let's get our final takes on this week for the Islanders. For the Rangers before we talk about the Islanders.
Another trade.
Ooh, what happened?
I mean, minor, but he's pretty decent goalie prospect. The Sabres traded Eric Portillo, Michigan starting goaltender, to the Kings for a third-round pick.
Wow.
Which they could do that because they have Devon Levy in the prospect pool is going to be their future number one. So I don't think Portillo really had much of a future in Buffalo, but the Kings get a goalie that, you know, could potentially help them. They don't really have the strongest goaltending pool there in LA. So good pickup for LA.
If you remember, the first guest I believe we ever had was Marty Biron, when we had Marty Biron on, he mentioned Devin Levi was a good goalie, and he's had a great season in I think it's Northeastern he's at right now. He had a great numbers he put up the last year. Can he keep that up? Can he translate that to the NHL level? That's going to be the question on that one. All right, so Phil, your final thoughts on the Rangers for this week. What are you looking at?
Basically, looking forward to Patrick Kane to see how he assimilates with the lineup. You know what? A lot of people have been talking about how, you know, the Rangers might need sandpaper and this and that. Does this really put them over the top over a team like Boston or Toronto? I'll tell you this right now. They're going to face a team like the Devils in the first round of playoffs, and it's going to be a war of attrition, if you will. And the Devils defense is going to have to worry about three lines that can really score. Same with Boston, same with Toronto. And you know what? They improved as well, but you add a player the caliber of Patrick Kane to everybody else, what that's going to do is that's going to puff everybody else's chests out. And everybody's going to be like, wow, we got Patrick Kane. And now this distraction is over, and he's here, and it's real. And I really think that this is going to charge this team up, and this team is going to play some excellent hockey going forward. And I don't think it's going to take that long for Patrick Kane to assimilate, not when he's playing with a guy like Artemi Panarin. But I really want to see what happens with the power play with these guys, because that's going to be the interesting discussion.
Yeah, and especially when they have to move probably Vlad Tarasenko power play too. Anthony, what's catching your eye on the Rangers?
Just to see how Kane gets integrated to the team, how they use him. I think Eric's already said he's going to play with Panarin and Trocheck, but see how they play, how they utilize him on the power play. You know, this is a guy that's obviously played his whole career in one place. It's going to take a little bit of time for him to get used to the Rangers, you know, the style of play and the systems that they employ. I'm sure he's going to be really fired up. You know, again, you know, the Rangers just need to kind of just start getting on a little bit of the solid run here, clean up the little nuances in their defensive game, and see if they can, you know, get some points, string of points going, even overtake the Devils, because right now the Devils have home ice, and, you know, that matters in the playoffs. So it would be nice if they could grab that 2 spot. But I think at this point, the Rangers roster that you see now is going to be the one they go forward with. I don't really think they have much room to do anything else. So we'll see. But I think they're ready to go now. Drury gave them all the tools that he thinks they need, and hopefully, you know, the team doesn't let him down. And again, you know, I expect them to kind of roll over Philly tonight, and then tomorrow with Kane's first game, I would, you know, suspect they'll win again too. So and those will be big 4 points for him going forward.
I agree with Core Python on this one. He talks about the lack of sandpaper guys that they were missing last year, and they made the Eastern Conference Finals. And Vinny Trocheck is a lot more sandpaper than Ryan Strome is. Ryan Strome is a smooth surface compared to that. All right, the A block is going to continue, everyone. We're going to be moving over to the New York Islanders, but first, we're going to take this moment to talk about DraftKings.
Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
All right, so everybody, the A block is going to continue. Let's focus going across the state to the New York Islanders, where the New York Islanders right now are sitting in fourth place in the Metropolitan Division. They have 70 points, 31, 25, and 8, a +8 goal differential. The Islanders are right now holding on to the number one wild card, Pittsburgh, 1 point behind them, 4 points back. And there's now the updated standings because now I have to include the Ottawa Senators. Anthony, we talked about this, the Islanders' rough 11-game stretch that they were going to go on, starting with the Pittsburgh series. And their next 4 games, versus Detroit, versus Buffalo, versus Pittsburgh, versus Washington. In their last 7 games, that rough road, they went 4-2-1. Can the Islanders solidify their playoff hopes this week?
I mean, yeah, you're playing 4 teams that are behind you. Obviously you'd like to see them go 4-0, but in this day and age, that's somewhat not realistic. Every now and then you're going to drop a game. So, but they are 4 important matchups. So at the very least, you hope they go 3-1 and get the majority of points. At this point, I mean, Washington's selling and they're falling behind. So I think the most important victories would be on Detroit and Buffalo just because of the games in hand. But I mean, at the end of the day, they really got a great opportunity to kind of just take stranglehold of one of these playoff spots because all these teams, I mean, Buffalo's really inconsistent. I mean, they beat Tampa Bay in a shootout. They're winning 5-2. They blew it. They still won in overtime. But then they lose 5-3 to the Columbus Blue Jackets when they're fighting for their playoff lives. I mean, they still got too many flaws in their game. Their best goaltender is Craig Anderson. He's like 43 years old. The Red Wings are talking playoff aspirations, but yet you're going to get waxed by the Senators in a back-to-back. I just stated the Capitals are selling pieces. They're starting to fall. So, realistically, you're talking the Penguins and the Panthers, and those teams have pretty fatal flaws too. So I think the Islanders are in decent shape here. I mean, they added another piece in Pierre Engvall. He will help on their third line and their bottom 6, add speed to his game. And, it was 15 goals last year, 12 this year. So, he's an upgrade over Johnston. He's an upgrade over Hudson Fasching, who I do like a lot, just doesn't bring much offense. So he's going to be a useful piece to the lineup. And, the Islanders aren't done. We'll talk more about it in bar talk, but I think Lou has another move in him. I think he's going to try to add another depth defenseman to kind of bump Sebastian Aho out of the lineup. And who knows, he might even, get another forward with, Barzal and Pajot both injured right now. So, but overall, Mark, you talked about their schedule after the games where they played Pittsburgh and Boston, and they beat Winnipeg twice. It's a really good team. They lost to the Wild in a shootout. They picked up a point there. The only game they lost in that stretch was in regulation, was to LA, in which, there's no shame in that. So, and this is all that Matt Barzal. So, they're playing good hockey. They're playing a lot better defensively. That game against Winnipeg, in Winnipeg, they held the Winnipeg Jets to 1 shot on goal in the first period. That was like Barry Trotz-esque defensive hockey that they played. And then last night in Minnesota, both teams didn't really generate much, but they played really well defensively last night too. So, they're starting to play better hockey, and I think they really do hold their own destiny in their hands just because, these other teams below them have some, serious issues. So just keep banking points. Like I said, these next 4 games are really important. They should certainly beat Detroit at home and then go from there. Pittsburgh, which they've owned them this year. Hopefully they, get another 2 points there. But overall, I guess we'll see what happens after Friday, because I think right now this team is still incomplete in the sense of I don't know what we're going to be looking at with what they have down the stretch, because I think Lou has another move or two in him.
Phil.
Yeah, I like this stretch now for the Islanders. Just like with Anthony said, like Detroit, they have to be absolutely demoralized after getting absolutely destroyed by Ottawa in back-to-back games. And in two different games that they took the lead in. You got to remember that. Detroit went up 1-0 in the first game, and then they went ahead 2-1 as well, and then Ottawa took it back. Both games, same exact result. And just Ottawa went on and just absolutely destroyed them. So I think Detroit is not looking well, and they just dealt away one of their top two defensemen in Philip Hronek. So
more on that in bar talk.
Yeah. So now the Islanders, that's definitely an easier battle for them because you got rid of one of their best defensemen. Then you have Pittsburgh, who the Islanders they've played every type of game you could play against Pittsburgh. They played a tight checking game. They played a run and gun game. They've played physical playoff type hockey, and they've beaten Pittsburgh. I think they had Pittsburgh's number, and Pittsburgh's goaltending is just trash. So I definitely think the Islanders control their own destiny here. I like the way that this looks for them. If anything, if you're a Ranger fan, you don't want them getting too close. So you're definitely going to be rooting for the other teams at this point because the Islanders are really starting to get close to the Rangers, and the Rangers have to get their own stuff in order. But yeah, I definitely like the Engvall move in the aspect that while he's not a needle mover per se, he's a guy that comes in and he's an upgrade over what they have on their fourth line currently. I would rather tout Engvall, even with his lack of physicality for his size. I would rather, skate him out there than the corpse of Cal Clutterbuck or Matt Martin or somebody like that that's kind of stuck in the past, if you will, and just really on the downside of their career. So Pierre Engvall can give them a little bit there. I do think that the Islanders do need to make another move. I wonder if it's a middle six forward. I wonder if it's a defenseman. If it's me, I would want an upgrade over somebody like Wotherspoon or Aho, even though Wotherspoon's actually been a pleasant surprise for them. And Sebastian Aho, as of late, has played a little better. I still would try to see if you can get an upgrade on defense there to really go forward. But the Islanders are in a really good position right now. And as a Ranger fan myself, they're starting to get a little closer. And I think if you're the other teams in the Eastern Conference, the teams above, I know they've played Boston pretty well in the times that they've played them. So if you're Carolina or you're Boston, I don't think I would really necessarily fear the Islanders, but it's not a matchup that I'm foaming at the mouth to have either.
Yeah, because when you look at their best player, which is Ilya Sorokin, you don't want to mess with that, and especially a team that is going to play for Ilya Sorokin.
I don't trust Linus Ullmark as much as I trust Ilya Sorokin come playoff time. Sorokin's proven that he can play in the playoffs. Linus Ullmark has not shown you that he can play in the playoffs like that. So that's going to be the thing. If the Islanders get a team like Boston, and that's one reason why I think the Islanders could upset a team like Boston or Carolina if they face one of those two teams, is because of the fact that they've got the advantage in net.
And I did say going into last week, you're going to see the value of Bo Horvat. And right now you're seeing it tremendously. This team is very calm. They even when they've kind of fallen behind, they've been able to stay in games and stay consistent in this stretch. I mean, you remove that Boston game. Yeah, that Boston game, they got trounced and Barzal got injured. So, and they had to travel after an emotional win in the final minutes of a game against Pittsburgh, which they need to have. And then they came back and won the next game against Pittsburgh, and Bo Horvat scored a goal on that one. This is a team that's definitely a lot more solid than what they were a month ago when we were starting to write their obituary on their season. They're back in it now, and just keep picking up the wins. They played more games than everybody else in the playoff hunt. They played 64. Teams like Buffalo played 59, Pittsburgh 60. But as we said just now, You got to win those games in hand. And I'm not confident Pittsburgh can. I'm not confident that Buffalo can. Ottawa looks like they might start moving. So, but
I think I'd be more scared of Ottawa than the other teams.
Well, Ottawa's got their goaltending problems, and we're going to talk about a lot of things that we don't believe in the contenders next week. So, Anthony, you got the next the next 4 games. That's Buffalo, versus Detroit, versus Buffalo, at Pittsburgh, and at Washington. What do you expect to see from your New York Islanders?
I expect them to come out with a killer instinct because, they could possibly start to kind of bury some of these teams if they beat them because, they have games in hand, but they already have, multiple point leads. And now, you beat them head to head. That's like a 4-point game. So I expect them to come out and play like their season depends on it because these other teams are going to be desperate too. Detroit, Buffalo, all these teams really need points. Like Buffalo losing to Columbus last night was just that's just terrible for them. You can't have that happen. So again, the Islanders know what they're up against. They need these points. They got to keep playing well. So I expect them coming out hungry. And again, hopefully with new additions on the roster, but we'll see. I think this is a stretch that could either put them in danger zone where they have to really scratch a claw, or they could, like I said, they could start to, build a cushion. And like Phil alluded to earlier, not getting, the Rangers don't want them to get too close, where you could start maybe having aspirations to move up rather than keep looking behind you. So I think that's going to determine how this week goes, whether or not they could realistically move up or they're still in danger of not making the playoffs. So 4 important games. And, like I said, obviously you would want to see them win all of them, but, there's the parity in this league these days. It's not always the case. So, but again, at least at the very bare minimum, go 2-2, but I would like to see them go 3-1 or better in this next 4 stretch.
And by the way, Mike Rupp, Anthony, I'm sorry.
The good thing, like Brock Nelson's still on a heater. He's still playing really well. So they got a lot of good things going for him right now. What surprisingly is Matt Martin's been playing on the first line for the last, week or so. And he's actually having a career year points wise. So, but the point is they need a little more depth to push him back down in the lineup. But I like the way Nelson's going. Horvat's been a beast in the face-off circle. He's playing a lot, his time on ice, playing in all situations. Pajot hopefully should be coming back. Lou said that he's practicing. So sorry, not practicing. He's skating, but hopefully he'll be back soon. So, and then Barzell's still week to week, but yeah, just go out and win as many games as you can. I know that's cliche, but that's what they have to do here.
All right. So just to get the one quote from Mike Rupp, he said that it's the worst thing to play teams that are out of the playoffs because they'll give you their best effort and you're not expecting it. And you end up getting a loss when you think you should have had 2 points to get out of there. Phil, Islanders' next 4 games, what do you think?
I think they're going to go 3-1. I could see the Buffalo game being a loss. Washington just took away from their roster. I know Ovechkin's back, and he can always do his thing and drop 2-3 goals on you. Yeah, I get it. But Buffalo, that offense is just scary. They're a top 3 offense in the league right now. They can absolutely go off for 6-7 goals in a game easy on a team. And on the good teams, too, they've done it against. So I think that's probably going to be the loss. I think they'll beat Pittsburgh. I think Detroit is demoralized. I think that's part of why they dealt away Hronek. And I just don't trust Pittsburgh or Washington anymore at this point. So I think this is going to be a week where the Islanders probably gain a little space from those teams chasing them. I'll
be bold. They're going to go undefeated. Undefeated. They're going to get 7 out of the 8 points. 3-0-1. That's what I'll say. Unexpected overtime loss to hopefully, in the Islanders' case, it would hopefully be somebody that's not Pittsburgh. Maybe Washington, you could afford an overtime loss. But that's about it. All right, everybody. So what do you think about the way the Rangers and the Islanders have been playing? And we covered the Jacob Chikrin trade in the middle of that. Make sure you're throwing that all down in the comments below. We're going to go on and go do some bar talk.
Drizly.
Yep.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever had to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. And welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we are gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Are you so confident that you're buying everybody around? Or are you just so-so? You're just going to have a beer? Play along down in the comments below. And by the way, why go to the liquor store, everybody, when you can get it delivered to you? Make it a Drizly night. Click the link in the description below. And also, I'm going to change that graphic right behind us. And again, we've been mentioning it all the time. I'm going to actually put on the trade deadline ticker in about 1 second. Our trade deadline special is Friday. You know, we're still going to be talking hockey for 4 hours, so you might as well just join us. Here's our trade deadline ticker. And the big name that landed last night, Mr. John Volkowski, was Patrick Kane to the New York Rangers. He will make his debut tomorrow night versus the Ottawa Senators, not tonight, which a lot of us were kind of a little disappointed. We talked about it last night, Phil. The New York Rangers should spread out Patrick Kane, Artemi Panarin, and Mika Zibanejad.
I'm going to say beer because there are times where they should do this. So the times being that when they get to a point where, you know, they need to make a shakeup mid-game, you can turn around and put those three on each of the top three lines. You could have Zibanejad, Kreider, and Kakko and split up the kids. You could have Panarin, Trocheck, and Tarasenko. And then you could have your third line of Kane, Lafreniere, and Hedl. Or if you wanted to go crazy, you could keep Kane, Panarin together and put Tarasenko with the two kids. And that's still a really good third line. So, I do think that this is something that Gerard Gallant should and definitely will explore at certain points when they feel like they need to change things up or they need a shot in the arm to try to get somebody away from a defensive matchup. So I'm gonna say beer here, just not as a permanent thing.
Anthony.
I mean, I think at moments maybe where they're, you know, when they're down a goal, they can really load up when they're going for the equalizer. But I like the idea of splitting them up just because, you know, adds more balance to the lines, gives Gallant a lot more options. And I think that's what he's ultimately going to do. I think Panarin and Kane are going to stick together. As I said, I think they're starting with Trocheck. But I think most of the time they'll be split up. Also, I'll go round.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go beer for the exact reasons that Phil said on there. I think you're going to have to do that at times where you need to split them up during like adjustment time. Maybe split them up, put them back together because they're professionals. They know what they're doing with this. The thing I'm kind of seeing with it is that I think they're going to want to keep the kid line together. Panarin and Kane are going to want to play together, and that means Tarasenko is the other guy or the odd man out. But they can do so many different things when they have to adjust. At least they don't have to throw Barclay Goodrow up on the top line when they need a goal. So that also helps. All right, let's go back to the Islanders, who have the number one wildcard spot. Anthony, we alluded to it in the A block. Lou Lamoriello needs to continue to add at the deadline.
Yeah, I'm going to go around. As we said, the Islanders have a really kind of hold their own destiny. They have a good opportunity here to take advantage of some of the other teams, you know, facing serious deficiencies behind them. So if they further bolster their lineup, they'll just give them that much more of an advantage. I think they need more depth on defense. Someone, you know, to play behind Pelech and Romanov on the left side, which would push Aho out of the lineup. I think that would be needed because in the come playoff time, you know, if they have an injury on defense, guys like, you know, Wotherspoon and Bolduc and Salo are, you know, not playing right now. And they're not bad players. They're just very inexperienced. And you want to have some more experience in case there's an injury back there. You don't want to thrust a young guy into a playoff situation. So I think picking up a veteran D would be helpful, whether it's Dmitry Kulikov, who's not playing for trade-related reasons tonight for Anaheim. I think he would be a solid depth defenseman to add. And maybe even still forward. I know he added Engvall, but like I said, you know, Pajot and Barzell are still out. So they could use a little bit even more scoring. I know JVR, apparently the market's not too hot for him right now. So I think you can get him for pretty much, pretty cheap. With the way you see teams trading away 2025 picks and 2026 picks in the case of Gus, I think you can get JVR for, like I said, at a very low cost, especially because, his cap hits $7 million and the Islanders have enough cap space to, take on that prorated part, whatever's left. So, but wherever it be the case, you get the point I'm making. I think Lou just needs to add a couple more depth pieces, maybe another middle six winger, as John said. But yeah, this is like an easy button for me. it's around.
There you go.
Tell.
All right, Phil.
You should just have a GIF of Patrick Ewing doing a finger roll layup, like just ready for me when you want to put like ones like this right down. Like
I was looking for that. I couldn't find a figure roll layup. So
you couldn't find that. Maybe a Kareem skyhook or something like that. just yeah. The easy button's great, but we need to exemplify how much of a layup this one actually is. This is a round. Why would this be anything other than a round? That's what. No, we're not even. We're gonna hijack this. Why would this be anything other than a round, Mark?
Because I'm gonna go with this. I'm not exactly sure what their need is, and I don't think Lou wants to trade away more assets. Now, is it really a team that's got the championship window that's open right now? Or is it just a team that's relying on Ilya Sorokin? I think you add no matter what. The question is, what are you adding? So I'm going to also make it a clean sweep.
The question was not what you were adding. The question is, does Lou Lamoriello need to continue to add? So
yeah, I think he does.
So then you just invalidate everything you said before that. So there's no other reason why this would be anything other than a round. Like, come on.
This is sometimes where I wish the guys edited in the rundown all these things.
Oh my God.
All right. So yeah, obviously they need to add. The question is just what are they getting? Can this team be in the market for Brock Besser?
Yeah, I think they could be. I just wonder how they pull that off cap wise. I really do. They have some issues. They have some decisions to make cap wise going forward. I don't think Vancouver was really looking to retain on Besser all that much, if any at all. Sorry, I feel like I have something in my eye right now.
Yeah, they're not. I actually saw a tweet from before. I forget who it was, but they said that it's looking like that actually may end up being a summer deal. They don't think he's going to be moved.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That was.
Well, I mean, guys, they could always retain 4% like a defenseman from Nashville that was traded this week.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I've never seen a amount that small retained. So,
well, we'll move on from that one because we know we're going to run short on time soon enough. And speaking about another cap trade and another big decision that's going to have to be made. But the Devils acquired Timo Meier this week from the San Jose Sharks. He's an RFA at season's end, as is teammate Jesper Bratt. And both those players are exceptionally playing well. Timo Meier could cost the Devils. Jesper Bratt, he shouldn't, but I'm going to put a beer on there. Now, Anthony, I go through cap friendly on this one to see whether or not it works out for next year. And the only way I can say it for now is Meier right now is listed at $3 million on cap friendly. He does have an arbitration hammer. Bratt is at $4.45 million. He's got an arbitration hammer. The guys coming off the books, Tatar, $4.5 million. Miles Wood, $3.2 million. Eric Holla, $2.75 million. Igor Serengovich, who might be the guy that ends up getting traded because of that. I'm surprised he wasn't in that trade to begin with. And then you got Damon Severson coming off the books and Ryan Graves. And eventually Mackenzie Blackwood comes off the books, but is an RFA. So I can't help but do the math and go, you can probably get both players because I think Bratt's going to go up a lot more because he took an arbitration deal this year. And Meyer, they got to qualify him at least $9 million, correct?
Yeah, but he won't sign his qualifier. They'll probably just sign him to extend him.
A
I don't think
long-term
they're not
deal,
going to.
yeah.
Still got to think a $9 million deal might be in the works.
I can simplify it for you, Mark. If you go to Cap Friendly Armchair GM and look at what their situation is for the offseason when the 23-24 season starts, they have $35 million of cap space available with all the expiring contracts. So, I mean, it's shot because they can afford to re-sign Meyer and Bratt for both, let's say, $9 million. That's $18 million, and they still have a bunch, left over. So I don't think they're. I just think what they'll end up doing, like you referenced, they probably won't be able to bring back Sharon Govich. He'll probably be traded. Obviously, Hall is a UFA. He'll probably walk. Severson, I don't think they're going to bring back. So they'll just trim elsewhere, but they could afford to re-sign both.
Yeah, I think you have to, by the way. That's a different story. Phil?
Yeah. Just with all this other cap space, this is definitely a shot. This is going to be another layup for me. So no, that's not going to happen. They're going to lose some guys, so they're going to lose some depth. But Timo Meyer isn't costing them just for Bratt. Like, that's just not happening.
By the way, Devils fans, Tom Fitzgerald has said he's already talked contract extension on that. All right, moving on to the rest of the Metropolitan Division. And you look at that Metropolitan Division, guys, 86 points by the Carolina Hurricanes, 83 by the Devils, and 77 for the Rangers. Carolina acquired Shane Gostisbehere from Arizona today, but Carolina needs to answer the Rangers and the Devils' big moves. Phil.
Absolutely around. Gostisbehere is a good move. It's for nothing. He'll help out power play. He'll help move the puck. Carolina likes to play an up-tempo style in which they move the puck out of their zone quickly. They break out as a 5-man unit, play with a lot of speed. Their transition game is really good. Again, yeah, as Core says, another layup, just another layup. But he'll help out the power play as well. And Gostisbehere can also pinch. Carolina loves to send their defensemen, as we saw last year in the playoffs and earlier on in the season, and even 2 Saturdays ago. They like to send their defensemen in, and Gostisbehere can play that type of game. So, but is Gostisbehere and Puljujarvi enough to put them over the top? No. And they lost Max Pacioretty. And that's a big loss. And the only way I think you can answer that is maybe getting somebody like Brock Besser at this point. I think Brock Besser would do like a world of good for them. I don't know who else is available. Timo Meyer, I know they were in on Timo Meyer, and then they just dropped out because they thought the price was just too much. I really wonder what that would have looked like from a Carolina perspective. But, they absolutely need to, because they're starting to fall back. I mean, right now, I would put Carolina behind Boston, behind Toronto, behind the Lightning, and behind the Rangers. And I think if the Islanders make another move, I think they're right there with Carolina. So, I even think the Devils could probably end up giving Carolina some problems. And the Devils' defense isn't great. So, yeah, Carolina needs to make a big move to answer these trades.
Anthony, that's a big statement that Phil just made.
I'm gonna go round 2. I mean, I always did have them in Boston up in a class of their own, but with the moves the Rangers and Devils made, you can make the case that they kind of surpassed them. I mean, Gostisbehere and Puljujarvi, they're solid players, but I felt that they could have used a big acquisition. Obviously, Meyer would have worked a lot. The only issue now is after adding the 2 trades they made, they have $2.6 million left in deadline cap space. So to make a big move, they might need a third team to retain salary or move salary the other way to make it work. So I think now their options are a little more limited. Not to say they could still do something. As you saw with the Rangers, you can get creative and make it work. The other issue, too, is when you're talking like a big move, I mean, who else is out there? I know you recently heard JT Miller's name in the last day or so, which they were linked to. But in order for that to work, they'd have to send back salary the other way, which I actually think I did a JT Miller mock trade to the Hurricanes in our Who Says No. So we'll get to that. But Yeah, I think they do need to make another move. I just don't know what or who it could be at this point.
Yeah, I got to go with it. They need a bigger move than this. I know that they're a great team right now, but Shane Gostisbehere does not move the needle for me. I like Shane Gostisbehere more than a lot of other people. I believe my friend Timmy coached him, but it's one of those things with Shane Gostisbehere. I can't help but look at it and go, we know he's not the greatest 5-on-5 player. He's improved greatly in Arizona from his Philadelphia days, but when this guy came into the league, I thought he was going to be the next great defenseman in the NHL, and not just that, he just hasn't been that needle mover. Now, I think he's going to help with their power play, but only the second power play unit. Their first power play unit's got Brent Burns on there. Where the hell are you putting Shane Gostisbehere on that one? So it's they need to figure out how to address what the Rangers and the Devils did. But, maybe they're just saying we're good with what we got. So we'll see about that. The big one of the questions I have right here in our comments on the poll question, which team has improved the most? And a team that made a lot of headlines, guys. The Toronto Maple Leafs added Jake McCabe and Sean Lafferty this week. Right now, they're second in the Atlantic.
Sam Lafferty.
Okay, it's Sam Lafferty. Anyway, let me get away from that as fast as I can. The Toronto Maple Leafs will come out of the Atlantic bracket. Anthony, since Philk is hiding his face and doesn't want to be seen with me. Sean Lafferty, by the way, sounds more Irish.
We've all ragged on them, but they've really made some serious all-in moves. They improved their team a lot. I mean, they got better defensively. They got better defensively from the aspect of like forwards coming back and playing defense with the addition of Lafferty, O'Reilly. I mean, McCabe, Shen. Let's put it this way. I was under the belief that prior to these moves that Tampa Bay, with all their experience and Toronto's softness, that they would just, roll through them in the first round. Now I'm at the point where, this matchup that they're on a collision course for might be, real close. But I'm gonna say beer because this, say will come out of the Atlantic. If I go around that's like implying that I think they're gonna be essentially in the Eastern Conference Final. I still think they, it's not a guarantee they get by Tampa, and even if they do, if they somehow ended up meeting a team like the Big Bad Bruins, I still think they would struggle with a team like that, just because of how sound they are, despite Allmark maybe not being playoff polished. But so I'll go beer. I mean, I definitely like their chances a lot more than I did 2 weeks ago, but I'm still not 100% sold.
And there's the updated graphic, Phil, so it's not all that bad, but the mistake was already made. So what do you think? Toronto's coming out of the Atlantic.
I'm only going to say beer here. They've become one of the deepest teams in the entire league, though. I will say that. And you added Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari and Sam Lafferty to a core that had John Tavares, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander. And that is some serious talent. They traded away Pierre Engvall. And to me, this signifies that Brendan Shanahan probably stepped in and said, screw your charts. I don't care what your analytics say. This is what wins come playoff time. And I know because I've won 3 Stanley Cups. So you need to shut up and listen to me for a few months. So, So I think Kyle Dubas listened because his job's on the line. This is it. If they don't win with this team, he's gone. And that's what these moves signify to me. So I do think that there is a distinct possibility that they do come out of the Atlantic bracket. But the problem with them is there's 2 things that I really have to key on with this team. Morgan Riley has not been good in the playoffs throughout his career. He has been somebody who's been much maligned for his play in the playoffs. soft, very offensive minded, not great defensively in his own zone. Really hasn't put up the numbers in the playoffs that you expect. He's not having a great year right now either. 2 goals, 29 points in 45 games. So that for a guy who's previously had a 70-point season, multiple 60-point seasons, that's not what you want to see from someone like Morgan Rielly. And the other thing is their goaltending. I don't trust their goaltending at all at this point. And especially when you're going to run into more than likely the Vezina winner if you get past Tampa Bay, who has the best goalie in the world and the best playoff goalie we've seen in quite some time in Andrei Vasilevsky. They are at a complete disadvantage in any series they're going to be in because they're goaltending. That forward and that defense group has to be so damn good to really overcome the disadvantage that they're at in net. So that's why I'm sticking with beer.
I got to go with the beer too, strictly because Anthony outlined it best. If I say, and they're looking very impressive right now, but if I say they're coming out of the Atlantic and buying around, that's my only choice. I can't go lower than a shot because I really do like the moves they've made. I was talking with Leafs fans on Twitter, and they were saying, "Oh, you got to extend Kyle Dubas right now." No, you don't. You got to win a playoff series, kid. You haven't done it, and if you don't, then who are you kidding? So then it's like, oh, hey, you haven't won a playoff series, but let's extend you for another 3 more years for no reason. Please. That's just one of those moments that I don't understand. It's sort of like this. It's sort of like an embarrassing thing calling a guy Sean Lafferty when his name is Sam Lafferty, and then thinking I got away with it after a momentary problem, not realizing I had it down as Sean Lafferty on the ticker below for the last 5 to 10 minutes. All right, let's get back to the next topic. The next topic, of course, is the Edmonton Oilers acquired Matthias Ekholm from the Nashville Predators as the Nashville Predators retain that.
No, Marc, again.
Why? What's the name?
You spelled the name wrong, the last name. No C in Ekholm.
There's no. Oh, good.
I am overworked. I am sick. I am going to go with every single excuse.
Well, I don't know if I could buy. I don't know if I could buy that because getting names wrong and misspellings has been your MO for since we really started.
I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with that. It's terrible. At least I left the H out this time. I added Matthias Ekholm. So, good. At least I have it right on the bottom line right there as he scrolls by, kind of taunting me at the moment. All right. So Matthias Ekholm was acquired by the Predators in that 4% holding. The addition of Matthias Ekholm makes the Oilers a Stanley Cup contender, Mr. Filkowski.
I'm going to say beer. I do think that this helps. They gave up a power play quarterback in Tyson Barrie, so I wonder how that affects basically the number 1 power play in the league in Edmonton. I know they still have McDavid and Draisaitl, and that's really how that power play really runs. But Tyson Barrie is a very good point man on it. So I wonder if Evan Bouchard can really step up and really step into that role. I do think that they need another defenseman. I think if they would have acquired Vladislav Gavrikov, I really think that it would have boosted them. But I also do think that they need some legitimate shutdown forwards. I like guys like Ryan McLeod in the bottom 6, but I do think that they need some legitimate defensive forwards there to help that bottom 6 out. So I'm going to say beer just because they're going to be there. And Connor McDavid, if he has a postseason like anywhere like he had last postseason, that they're going to get far. But the West is weak. The West really is weak this year compared to the East. So even if they do make it out of the West, do we really see them beating anybody from the East? I don't know about that. But again, I'll say beer.
Anthony,
I'm going to go beer too. Ekholm makes him a lot better defensively. He's a big guy. He's rangy. He skates well. But I do think they could use another checking forward, and I'm still also questioning their goaltending. I don't know. I'm not really a full believer in Skinner and Campbell, but adding Ekholm does make them closer to me really believing that they could win a cup, just because McDavid and Draisaitl are that good. But Ekholm is a tremendous add for them. There's no diminishing that. He's probably the best defenseman that's been traded so far this deadline season. He's really good.
I'm going to interrupt. We got 2 breaking trades that just came in. One is Teddy Bluger going from Pittsburgh to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And another one is Shayna Goldman is breaking both of these, by the way, from The Athletic, writes for the Rangers. To give you a little context, she's not really a trade like insider, but she broke the Brady Shea trade from the Rangers to Carolina in 2020. But she's stating also that Vladislav Nemesnikov is going from Tampa Bay to San Jose. So Tampa Bay may be looking to make another move. There's probably a cap clearing move on Tampa's part. I don't know what Pittsburgh is doing. Maybe they're loading up. Maybe they're probably doing the same thing and trying to get space to load up for a bigger move. Maybe. I mean, I know Brock Besser was rumored to Pittsburgh. I know what you said before, Anthony, but maybe it's somebody else.
I've also heard JT Miller's name at Pittsburgh too.
How do they pull that off? That's what I want to know. How do they pull that one off going forward?
And
Mark,
Mark, did I actually get Nemestikov right?
You did, but you botched Bluger.
You botched Bluger.
I thought I put the U before the E.
No, it's not GAR, bud.
Yeah. Oh, it's not GAR? Oh. Whatever. Teddy's gone. A couple breaking trades right now. Trying to get these down as fast as I can.
$2.2 million is Bluger's cap hit. So
Vegas. Yeah, the return on Bluger is a 2024 third.
I mean, that's not a bad return for him. I mean, he's a decent depth forward. Nemesnikov, the same thing. I'm not seeing what the return on Nemesnikov is yet. Trying to find that.
Well, let me just say this about Matthias Ekholm. If there was a C in his name, because a C is in cup, then maybe they're going to win it all. I doubt that. I don't like their goaltending.
God.
Yeah.
That's
that's the one. Yeah, that's the one I'm going with. Just beer because they still got Connor McDavid, but they're the rest of it's just awful. Sort of like me trying to get a guy's name on the fly. So, oh boy.
Nemesnikov is $2.5 million against the cap, so that opens up something for Tampa. I mean, you gotta wonder what Tampa's looking at. I mean, maybe someone like James Van Riemsdyk.
Yeah, it's possible.
That I think that could fit right in because Tampa, with their cap situation and the way that everything is with them going forward right now, you have Anthony Cirelli's raised from $4.8 million to $6.25 million, and then you have Ross Colton needing a new deal in RFA. He's probably going to get somewhere between $2 and $3 million. Tanner Jeannot's RFA raise. And then Mikhail Sergachev going from $4.8 million to $8.5 million. And Nick Perbix, I mean, he goes from $842K to $1.125 million. So, but yeah, and then they're going to need a new backup over Brian Elliott, and that's probably going to cost them like $1 million. So that's only going to be like a few $100,000 that they'll spend on that. But I don't see how Tampa does Miller, but Van Riemsdyk or someone like that, maybe Max Domi somewhere in there, definitely can see that being the case.
Well, let's talk about a player that was traded today. You have Lars Eller was traded to the Colorado Avalanche. Well, Colorado needed to make a bigger move than Lars Eller. And I'll start this one, guys. I'll go with a beer on this. I like Lars Eller as a player, but he'll just give you more depth down the middle. I think they're just expecting more out of Alex Newhook. I know we said originally ROR possibly going there. I still like Colorado as their full team. I just don't think that this is their year. So why risk too much on the future, Phil?
Yeah, I would say they needed to make a move bigger than Lars Eller. So I'm gonna go round here. I don't like their center depth. I mean, obviously, when you lose someone like Nazem Kadri behind Nathan McKinnon, your center depth's not going to be nearly as good
In a career year.
But there wasn't anyone available, and before the start of the season, I said that I thought that Alex Newhook would take that step toward becoming that legitimate second line center for them, and he hasn't been that yet. He's shown you signs. Maybe he's not far off, but you need more. I mean, 22 points in 58 games is just not enough from Newhook, especially for a guy that they drafted in the first round of 2019. That was a pick that the Rangers actually wanted. They wanted that 16th overall pick for Chris Kreider at the 2019 draft, and the Joe Sakic refused to do that. So that's the guy that you ultimately want to be your number two center, but he's just not ready yet. And Lars Eller is a good center, but is that really who you want to come in to be your number two guy behind Nathan McKinnon? At this point, I don't buy them. They don't scare me the same way that they scared me last year. So yeah, round.
Anthony.
Yeah, I'm gonna go round. But then again, I mean, there's Winnipeg, who, despite being, it could be a dangerous team in the playoffs, they're really struggling right now. And I know Dallas is a pretty good team. But I guess the point is, it seems like my impression, the West really isn't as – they don't have the giants that the East has, in my opinion.
East
and
is juggernauts.
I think when you're the defending juggernauts, when you're the defending Stanley Cup champs, I think you still got to give them a little bit of a leeway there on the leash. I still think they're a really good team that come playoff time can turn it up. But I think making an extra addition would really help them be able to, come out of the West again. So there's still time, clearly, to the deadline. The only thing is they don't have much draft capital at this point. So I don't know, what they can give up for a kind of like a middle of the road move. But I do think they have another move in them, though. But I do think they need a bigger impact than Lars Eller.
I actually still can't believe Calgary hasn't made a move on anything yet, but that's a different story at the moment because they're desperately in need and they're definitely in win now mode. All right, we got one last one, guys, and it's from a team going in a different direction because, as Philker mentioned before, Filip Hronek went to the Vancouver Canucks. The Red Wings are right to wave the white flag, Anthony.
I think they have games in hand on the Penguins and the Islanders, but when you just lost back in a home and home, you lost to the Senators, and really an embarrassing way. Both games they kind of got blown out. I think that just kind of puts them in the place of where they really stand right now. Ville Husso is not the Husso of last year in St. Louis. Their offense, is okay, but they lack depth. I think the Red Wings are on the right track, but I don't think this is really the year where they can realistically make the playoffs. I think they should stay the course. Steve Yzerman's a great GM, even though trading Hronek is a little bit of a head scratcher. To get a first and a second in return for him is a pretty good haul. So I trust in him, but I don't think they are going to make the playoffs. So I could see why he did it. So I'll go beer. Just because they're not really far out, but I still see the reasoning behind it of why he did it.
Philk.
Yeah, I'm going to say round here. I know that I picked them to make a surprise run towards the playoffs, but it just hasn't worked out. A lot of their guys just haven't performed to the expectations that I thought that they would have performed too. Like I said yesterday, I thought that Moritz Seider would have been a Norris candidate. Like he would have been someone that would have been in the finals of the finalists among the Norris Trophy voting. Lucas Raymond, I thought that he would build upon his great rookie year. He had a Calder-worthy year last year, and he's had a sophomore slump, and then has missed some time as well. Dylan Larkin's playing about like a point per game. He's played really good. Philip Hronek actually having a really good year, just gets dealt. It's just a lot of disappointment. Andrew Kopp, they brought him in, and he's maybe on for about 40 points. So it just a lot that hasn't gone right with this team. And you know what? Good on Steve Yzerman to recognize this and to not try to force the issue and go for it stupidly. But I will say this, Hronek, under contract for a bit. I don't understand like getting rid of him at this time. That one really kind of like, okay, like for me, the only thing I could think of is that they turned around and they saw those 2 games against Ottawa, and they didn't like the way that he played against Ottawa, and they were like, hey, you know what? Too soft, not mentally stable enough. Let's go get what we can for this guy, sell high now, and then try to, make another move for another defenseman, or, just kind of retool on the fly here, because this guy really isn't what we're looking for to go forward with, because he's got another year after this year. And then after that year, after next year, he's an RFA. So for me, it's a little bit of a head scratcher, but if I had to guess it, it kind of reminds me of the way that the Rangers dealt away Sergei Zubov in 1995 as a knee-jerk reaction to that loss against the Flyers in that series. They didn't like the way that they played. So
I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go around on this one too, because they looked so bad against Ottawa. Sorry, it's not stopping. They look so bad against the Ottawa Senators, and they're going to have to leapfrog 4 different teams to make the playoffs. Look, just admit it that it's not going to work. You re-signed Dylan Larkin. You're building towards the future still. It's Steve Yzerman. There's an Yzer plan. We all know that saying. And Steve Yzerman, you just trust him with his judgment. If it was, say, Chris Drury giving up in the playoffs, or maybe even Lou Lamoriello, Lou, you would do that. You'd be a little bit shocked. But Steve Yzerman seems to have a plan. He seems to know what he's doing on this. So, guys, that is the end of Bar Talk. Again, we were interrupted by yet another trade that has happened, or 2 more trades that have happened. But hope you were all playing along right there. There are some questions here we're going to answer, and we'll answer one of them first in a second, because we're going to talk about we're going to go and do some Who Says No. And one of the trades you guys are referring to in the comments, we're going to mention. So let's play a little Who Says No.
It's a no for me, dog.
No.
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 All right, everybody, and welcome back, of course, to Big Apple Hockey's Who Says No, where we are going to give you some hypothetical hockey trades, and we're going to tell you which team says no. Play along in the comments. You could say which one would say no with that. And we're going to move this one up to the top of the list, because, Anthony, everybody's asking about the Jonathan Quick trade today and how much or just what your thoughts on that is. You're also thinking that Columbus is going to flip Jonathan Quick, which has been going around as well. Yeah. So you have to the Seattle Kraken, Jonathan Quick, and to Columbus, Colorado's 4th and Chris Driedger. Who says no?
I think this is a deal. Columbus, Jarmo Kukalainen said he's going to try to do the right thing by Quick and move him. So for the Jackets, you're getting assets for guys not going to play for your team. And Seattle, Seattle, interesting. They could score a lot of goals, but yet both their goalies are both under 900 save percentage. I know Quick hasn't been really great either, but at least he has the winning pedigree, playoff experience. Seattle's going to be in the playoffs for the first time, so I still think they would probably want to be able to use a guy like him in net. So I think they both say I think this is a deal. I don't think anybody says no.
Phil, who says no, or is this a deal?
I think probably. I think Columbus might say no to this actually because I don't think they'd want anything to do with Drizly. I really don't think they want anything to do with him. He's actually buried in the minors right now. I don't think he really has any value in this. I think if you remove him, I think maybe it might take a little more than a fourth, maybe a third, maybe a small, very like low level prospect. But I think Columbus says no to this.
I'm going to agree with you. I think Columbus is the one that says no. And the reason why, again, is because I'm not sure if Drizly is going to be enough to get that done. And I mean, the Kraken still
it's not
have
about enough by getting done. It's they would because right now Quick would be their second goalie on their rosters. They would need just a backup to go the other way.
Well, they do have Grubauer and Jones, right?
No, I'm talking about Columbus.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the reason why Columbus would do that. Yeah. All right. Sorry. I was still fixated on the other thing. But Seattle's got a lot of picks. They got their first round is still 3 in the second round, 1 in the third, and a conditional 4th from Colorado. So, I mean, yeah, it could change around like that. But I think right now Columbus would say no to that. I'm not sure if Drizly is going to be the guy that they want to do. All right. We're going to go to the Dallas Stars, who have not made much of a moves. I mean, Evgeny Dadonov, that was about it. So, to Dallas, Max Domi, to Chicago, a second-round pick for this year. Philk, who says no?
I think this is a deal. I think this is around what Domi's going to go for. You maybe an very small ad on Dallas's end, or I mean Chicago's end. Yeah, to something else going to Chicago in regard to the deal for Domi, but I think this is a pretty good deal. I think it actually makes sense. They could use some forward depth, Dallas. I think I like their guys. I think they need a shot in the arm. Mason Marchment looks like he's just out of shape, and he has not played well, and it's dragged down a lot of the lines that he's played on. So I think putting him out in like the fourth line would really help. So if you can move him down and get Max Domi in there playing with, Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin or, Radek Fox or something like that, I think that really helps Dallas depth-wise. So, yeah, I like this deal.
Anthony.
Yeah, I think it's a deal too. Domi's playing well. I think the value's fair. Not quite a first-round pick for him. I think a second-round pick is pretty fair value. Helps Dallas out a lot, gives them some more scoring. And Chicago just yet again gets another pick for a guy that they likely weren't going to re-sign.
I still think there might be another draft pick in there, but yeah, I could see this deal going through. So we've already got a couple deals that already seem like they're going through. I'm surprised there are more guys saying no on this. Domi could still. I'm just wondering if there's a bidding war at the last minute that they're going to hold off on Domi because he is Chicago's leading scorer. All right. A guy that we mentioned a lot, and we just mentioned him before, JT Miller going to Carolina from Vancouver for a first-round pick this year, Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Dominic Bach. I'm going to go Carolina says no on this one. I'm not sure if they're able to pull off this trade with those assets and that cap space they got. They might need somebody to retain. And actually, no, then in that case, Vancouver says no. I'm sorry. Anthony.
Actually, Kotkaniemi's cap hit helps with Miller, so the financials aren't bad. It's just a matter of how much Vancouver values Miller. I know he just signed that extension, 8 years. It's a lot of money to commit to a player, so I think that actually hurts his value a little bit. But I mean, it seems like he has remorse with re-signing there, and I won't be surprised if he is traded. I don't think he's going to get a top prospect. I think the first round pick is a starting point. Kotkaniemi is still young enough where I think the the Canucks could see some value, just like they saw value in Beauvillier and Kravtsov, maybe a player that needs to change the scenery. Dominic Bach is he's okay. But I don't know. I guess I guess maybe I'll say Vancouver says no, just because I think they still would think they can get more from Miller, but I'm not sure they can.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a fresh new extension. You're getting a guy that's coming off a 99-point season, but they also might want to get desperate and move him. So that's why I'm still going to say Vancouver. Phil?
I think this actually goes through. I really do think this goes through. Dominic Bach has really kind of fallen off a little bit. He was playing in the AHL with the Chicago Wolves for a couple of years, and his numbers were really not all that great. So he went back to the German league these last 2 years, and he had a big year this year. Having a big year this year, I should say, 49 points in 43 games. But I don't know what his value is anymore. And Miller's value can't be that great either with the kind of the down season that he's had. He's close to a point per game, but definitely not anywhere close to that 99-point player he was last year. So I think this could be a deal. If it's a no, then there's maybe a small ad, going to Vancouver. But I definitely think this is kind of the foundations of the deal. Because like Anthony said, Kotkaniemi makes it work for salary purposes, for cap purposes. So
Does he make it work for talent purposes?
You know what? I'm not sure that Kotkaniemi turns into anything more than a Finnish version of Lars Eller at this point. I like the player. I think he's gotten better defensively. He's never going to live up to that third overall, draft spot. But I still think he could be a decent two-way player. And something like Lars Eller, kind of the styles of play kind of remind me of each other. Tall, lanky, rangy, not overly physical, but they know how to engage the body when they have to. So, I think it can help talent-wise, but only to a point.
All right. And last one, guys, for you. We have Colorado Avalanche getting James Van Riemsdyk, and then to Philly, a 4th-round pick and a 2025 second. Phil, who says no?
I think Philadelphia actually says no.
Ooh,
I think
all right.
It's a 2025 second. Okay. No, I you know what? I misread that. I thought that said a 5th for a second. I'm sorry. No, I'm actually gonna take that back. I'm gonna say that this is probably gonna go through. I think that a second and a 4th for JVR would be good. Maybe they might try to hold out for a 3rd, but I think a future second and a future 4th for JVR would actually be decent, because I don't think anybody wants to give up a 2nd-round pick in this year's draft, because this year's draft is going to be real deep for a guy like JVR. He's 34 and he's not, very productive anymore. I still think he's got something to give, but I think he's really just kind of reduced to a depth winger at this point. So I think this is pretty fair. I think Colorado probably should explore that, but I think there are few other teams that probably should explore that before Colorado.
Anthony.
Yeah, I think it's a deal. I think it's fair value for an aging JVR. Could still, get some, kind of secondary scoring for a team. And I think for Colorado, for a team that's really always all in, I really don't think they care about the assets going the other way. And again, Philly, I think they recognize, who he is at this point, and I don't think they would be able to get much more.
I'm actually going to say that this might go through, and I think it could be fine, because he's only got 9 goals, 14 assists this year. That's not a good thing, and they're going to desperately need him to produce a little bit more. Maybe if he had a good game tonight, but I don't see it. 9 goals, 14 assists. That's not enough to get it done. So I'm gonna say that this trade goes through. That's what I'm gonna say with that one. We actually had a couple more trades for you guys, but Shane Gaspar was traded before this the show started, and I mean, who was the other one that we had to delete? Anthony?
Jacob Chikrin.
Oh, Jacob Chikrin.
Jacob Chikrin.
Yeah, I can't believe Jacob Chikrin. It's finally over. Oh, it's finally over. I don't have to worry about hearing about Jacob Chikrin. Every single team in the league for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's great.
All right. We got the Ranger game starting in about a few minutes. I know you guys might have a couple questions. I know everybody's impressed that I was able to say at least one name right or spell Miller right. That was also another one. But any notes you guys might have? Or any teams you're looking at that need to do something at the deadline?
What?
Any teams you're looking at that need to do something at the deadline?
Pittsburgh still hasn't done anything. It looks like they're creating room for something. I think they need to make a move. I would think Seattle's one playoff team that hasn't done anything yet. You would look to them. And I think more from Dallas. I think you need to see more from Dallas. Yeah, Calgary's on that bubble.
I mean, Calgary, how do you not do something, though? That's a little bewildering to me. Like, Calgary needed to shore up their team in some way. We all have Calgary at the beginning of the year as a Stanley Cup champion, and they might not even make the playoffs. I'm still shocked about this. And Jacob Markstrom, he's let up a goal in his first 3 shots. I think it's a total of 18 times this season within his first 3 or 4 shots. That's been remarkable. I can't believe that from a Vezina Trophy winner, or sorry, not a winner. I mean, a finalist last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right.
I mean, they're 5 points. They're 5 points out of a playoff spot. So, and the way they're playing, maybe they just believe that it's not really worth it to add something right now because maybe they don't believe in the group. I mean, I don't know.
Crazy how we thought that team was going to go to the Stanley Cup Finals, and now all of a sudden we're looking at them on the outside. Just crazy to think about.
It's amazing when a piece just goes in and it doesn't work out. Like Justin Hoover. I did it again. I stopped it midway through the sentence, everybody. Jonathan Huberdeau. Yeah.
Because he's been trolled so hard about it that he has the name in his head.
Oh my God!
What is it about Huberdeau that you insist on calling him Justin? I don't understand.
I think it's the Prime Minister. It's Justin.
Trudeau.
I forgot his name now. Trudeau. Thank you.
Oh my
Trudeau.
God, Marc.
And I think that's what stuck in my head. I think I got the wires crossed between Justin Trudeau and Jonathan Huberdeau.
I couldn't imagine if this was a baseball podcast, because Marc would be calling Shane Bieber, Justin Bieber left and right, and we'd probably have copyright strikes against us or royalties to be asked for his name so many damn times.
Greg's got a good question right here, guys. What do you think about the Caps moves and making this a redo? Retool.
Yeah, I do like this question a lot. It's actually a really good question. It's interesting to see them go and re-sign Jensen after getting rid of Orlov and Hathaway, and it seemed like they were waving the white flag on the season, and then they go and they get Rasmus Sandin, and they get rid of Eric Gustafsson in the process. So it looks like they understand that they have to get younger, but they don't want to completely close the window and not be a competitive team, during Alexander Ovechkin's, last years in Washington. Because, I mean, the way that they were going, they were definitely going to be a real bad team in a couple of years.
By the way, just to say, because Dave is mentioning it right here, we should pool money together and get Marc custom number 11 Flames jersey with Justin on the back. I'm wearing currently right now the only Big Apple hockey jersey, and I do want to make one with Justin on the back for everybody if they wanted to get one.
This is Huberdeau's first year at a below where he's going to be below point per game since 2017, 2018. Since then, he's always been a point per game player or above, and this year he's only at 40 points. So to say it hasn't worked out in his first year in Calgary is an understatement.
I think we were asked this question last night. Are the Rangers a favorite to win in the loaded Eastern Conference?
No, thanks, Mark. Just totally ignore my point about Huberdeau.
Oh, I wasn't ignoring it. I was just trying to.
I think
I'm bad at 1,000 tonight.
I personally think Sutter's going to get fired.
Yeah,
I think Sutter's going to get fired because I think he stifled Huberdeau, and you brought in Nazem Kadri. Nazem Kadri's not playing well either, and it just I shouldn't say not playing well, but Nazem Kadri after the year that he had last year, you would have figured that they would be he would be a real like point per game type player or close to it. And Nazem Kadri doesn't look the way that he looked last year. I think Sutter's going to get the can. I think he's probably gone.
Yeah, I mean, if they miss the playoffs, someone's going to fall on the sword. So that's certainly possible.
I definitely think Sutter.
Huberdeau has not lived up to expectations in Calgary, which is really hurting them. I mean, go from being 115 points, thinking that's the, at least maybe you get like a 80, 90 point player. He's at 40 in 58 games. Not good enough. Not good enough.
Yeah. No, not nearly good enough at all. Tyler Toffoli being this team's leading scorer is a problem.
Yep. And the full trade on the Nemestikov trade, by the way, is Nemestikov is 50% retained for Mikey Eyssimont.
Oh, Eyssimont from San Jose, yeah. He just took a bad penalty in last night's game, too. Funny enough, I was watching that game against Montreal. But, yeah, I do think the Rangers are one of the favorites. I don't think they are the favorite, but they are one of them. You'd be crazy to say that they're not one of them.
Where would you rank them in the loaded Eastern Conference?
They're a top 4 team. The top 4 is so close. You got to say Boston won, and then I think the other 3 teams you can kind of go from there. So, but the game is actually on, so I want to watch this.
Yeah, we're gonna be closing it up right now. Let's just take one more. Davey's asking, what do you think about the possibility of an Islanders Rangers second round matchup?
I think the Islanders can possibly beat Boston or Carolina. I mean, I like I said, when you have that type of goaltender having the season he's having, if the Islanders go and make another couple of moves, anything is possible. But definitely they're gonna have to shore some things up, and they're gonna have to make some moves. But it is possible. I don't think it's a definite that it could happen. I just think that there is somewhat of a possibility. So.
All right. Well, we know we got the Ranger game that's starting right now because
they're already on.
Look at this. Our audience knows the same thing as they're dwindling out. Everybody, once again, keep in mind the trade deadline special is Friday, and we got a lot of giveaways and everything else that we can't wait to do for you. Got some of the pictures right here, an autograph Capo Caco, an autograph Brock Nelson. So, and I guess this is on MSG right now because I just saw it due to local blackouts.
Yeah, I got that too. I went to TNT and it wasn't there. So,
and good thing I just dropped my remote. All right, everybody, thank you very much. We're going to be with you on Friday. Hopefully, we can have all 3 of us at one point, but it's going to be 4 hours and a lot of fun. So, come on in, go on. It's going to be a great time. Lots of giveaways to do. And I mentioned a couple of the prizes right there. So come on down and join us. All right. Take it easy. Have a good one, guys.
Take care.